They are with Identity Creative. They are co-founders. They have a vast experience and many years that they have worked with branding, marketing, large clients. They have worked with a number of different industries and sectors. And, depending on your specific industry, obviously that yours are some that they have worked with: nonprofits, automotive, schools, a lot of different industries. And so they've been very active members of the Auburn Hills Chamber of Commerce, and we really appreciate their expertise. And I will turn it over to you to kick things off. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jean. And we want to thank the Auburn Hills Chamber. You guys are great. We want to cover designing your brand identity in this session. What a great brand identity, how it goes beyond your logo, 5 brand design pitfalls you don't want to make, what is needed for a professional brand identity system, and leveraging your rebranding launch to impact sales. We're going to hit on that. And then we're going to send afterward, if you would like, complementary tools to make a plan to track your progress. We want to keep branding, never stop branding. We have a guide for a roadmap to your remarkable brand. It's just a checklist, another launch checklist. You might have gotten this in the last, if you attended the last session. And then a brand blueprint template, just a guide for your use. And then recapping from last session, we talked about when and when not to brand. So if you're just joining us, then you want to make sure, is this a good time? There are definitely times not to rebrand. So you could go back to that. But now if you want to, if you think you're ready, we really want to help you see how you can approach branding. Everyone slices and dices it differently. So these are some things that we want to see. A small business, they need the same level to a large degree as the big guys get. And we tend to minimize our brand identity, our brand standards, because it's just us, but it's so important. So we want to cover why and how to do that. Okay, so this is our fun part, because we get everybody on the same page with what is a brand. You want to define your brand by what is the experience people have when they see your logo, your signage, your product, how they feel when they experience working with your customer service, ordering, receiving, hopping onto the website. All of those things create the brand, and they're tangible and intangible pieces. So let's just start with the tangible piece. What are you thinking? What company? Throw it out. Take a guess.
Target.
Target. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? Just a tiny snippet out of the blue. And when you said Target, if it sits in for a minute, people are going to either think, oh, I love that store, I need to get there. I've got a shopping list, or I never go to Target. It just feels like they're trying to be high end, but they're not. So those are the tangible and intangible pieces of the brand. And when you look at your brand, this is, I think, a helpful analogy to giving it shoe leather in a sense, making it useful. Your company, your organization is like a person. It has a name that identifies it and a face, right? So we each have a name and a face. Your business has a style and a personality, just like you do. And so it has core values, even if you've not identified them, that drive behavior and the value that you bring, right? If you're not bringing value to people, then you're not in business. So each person has that. We want to build our brand in that organic kind of way as well. If you walked into a networking room, we're getting there, right? Soon.
Yeah.
Room full of people, crowded, packed.
They're going to know you, and you're going to have a certain impression. Everybody does. I mean, there's a certain impression. Some are like, yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. How you doing? You pick up right where you start off. And somebody else might be, yeah, I need to go somewhere else and really don't want to connect with them or whatever.
Yes.
Anyway,
And so just by seeing their face, if you know their name, it identified them. And that's the power of your logo. When people see your logo, you want the positive feelings to come. So let's just do a quick audience participation fun thing. Princeton University researchers asked respondents whether they could trust a person just based on their face. And so they put these faces before them and they could click trust, don't trust. So I think Alex and Jean, you know the answer to this question. How long did it take them to decide whether they could trust a person just by their face? Throw it out there.
Mike knows too.
Does Mike know?
He was here last time.
Okay, Jennifer, you want to take a stab?
I'm going to guess pretty quick. I don't.
It's pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, it was 1/10 of a second. Like we just call it the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, they trust, don't trust. So why don't you guys do it right now? If you had a franchise opportunity, you're given $100,000 to invest in a franchise and you're going to pick from 2 companies. Are you going to choose company A or company B? Which one are you investing your $100,000 with?
B.
Why?
I'm going B. I'm going B. I like the circle with the dots.
Okay, why else? What else is it about that?
But it's got a what I call a payoff line or a value proposition, I guess is the term. Tax savings that increase wealth. So there's a reason to come. So they're saying, here's what we do and here's the results. And so I feel better about, okay, well, if I invest my franchise money in them, I can turn around and get new customers because I kind of know a little bit about what we're selling.
Great.
Menegan, number one, I can't even pronounce the first name. Smith Tax and Accounting. It could be Smith Tax. It's random bookkeeping tax account. I guess I don't know. And I don't see. There's no bet. I don't like it.
It made an impression.
It's an impression thing. Yeah, it's an impression. I mean, rationally, I can dig into it and just snap, but just initial impression, eyeballing this, the colors are better. The everything about it looks more appealing, I think.
Your classic accountant tends to stay kind of sterile.
Yep.
When an accountant meets somebody who's on the right brain side, they have a connection, then things open up, like syntax work. But then you want to talk about the goals of branding?
Yeah, just can you go back just a sec on that? We should probably, it's actually the same company, it's a before and after. They were doing the same thing, but they wanted to license what their process was. Can you picture, even if you dropped the Menegan Smith, maybe you just did Smith Tax and Accounting, picture a sign, picture people wearing it on their shirt. The one on the left does not feel like something people are going to buy into and replicate in terms of a franchise that's recognizable nationally. There are reasons for that. So you talk about the name is important, the font style, color. What this exercise does is it shows you we're making decisions, impressions on our gut feeling based on the face of a company. Jean, did you want to say something? I don't know if you had unmiked.
No, I think Mike eloquently put it.
Okay, good.
Well, yeah.
All right. Yes. So the 2 goals of branding, this is how we define it. 1, you want to build trust. So Marty Neumeyer, he was the grandfather of modern branding. He said, trust is the ultimate shortcut to a buying decision, and it is the bedrock of modern branding. Building trust in your design is powerful. you can do that, and it gives people that it gives you that credibility, so people want to do business with you, and then to be remembered. Bill, you want to put that quote out there? I don't remember it. For a brand to survive and thrive, it must build its identity that differentiates it from its competition. If you don't stand out with your unique value, if you're just a tax and attorney, what is unique about you? But if you can create that, our tax savings are dry. We're going to bring that into your bottom line. So that's the unique value. And so each of you, as hard as driving a niche is, it doesn't mean you have to niche into one category. We only serve homeowners in this area, or we only serve teachers. You can expand not vertically, but horizontally, but niche what your special, unique feature is. Coffee, what is special about our coffee? Okay. So how do you design a brand from the inside out? Those abstract pieces, how do we bring that feeling? Let's cover how we want to do that. We want to start by, through our process, we clarify what makes you unique, create your design, and then help you connect with the people you want to do business with and who are waiting for you. They want to do business with you. These are the phases. We're going to cover each of these sections in a little bit more detail.
We just, Laura just joined us. I guess I'm admitting.
Hi, Laura. So Bill, we'll just keep going.
Yep. Okay, I'm sorry. Clarify.
What makes your brand unique? So Bill, let's just fly through this next one. When people get a product, they go, I've got a great reason to start a business. I need a quick logo, and now just start flying at a website, packaging, marketing, social media. I got to get out there. Sales process, blah, 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 all the pieces that I need. What makes me different? Yeah, let's throw something out there. Operations, a lot of times people use coupons. So all of the things that fly at you as a small business owner or as a small organization, we got to get this, and we need this. And this is how people are trying to manage their brand. So if this looks disjointed and overwhelming, that is right. How can you manage your brand when it's just coming at you? So we want to help you see your brand, and you can look at it this way. It's an organic entity that changes with internal and external challenges, like a tree. So I guess I'm going to keep I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. Bill, you're doing a great job.
Sorry. This is yours.
No, you're good.
Right,
We want to cover the roots, but the roots of the tree is what gives it life. And we look at those as a lot of the abstract pieces. Your purpose, why we do what we do, is critical. It pulls all of it together. There was just the purpose summit in Mount Clemens, which was great. Why you do what you do is going to motivate your team. And then the other pieces that we look at in creating this brand blueprint is your mission. It is what you do. So why we do it, we're home builders and we want to restore credibility to the industry. Our mission is to do home improvements with this. It's what we do to fulfill our purpose. And our vision, how is the world going to be different because of what you do? And then your values and beliefs, your core values, those drive your behavior with your team and your customers. Your brand promise, and that's getting back to that unique thing that you do. Once you've identified it, now let's deliver that unique value every time. Every interaction on some level, we're delivering that unique value. And then your differentiators, which goes back into your unique value. If you have 3, you're not easily copied. So if you just said, we're the cheapest coffee on the block, that's a race you're going to lose really quickly. How do I know your coffee from other coffees? Well, we've got this. Yeah, so do those guys. We've got this. Yeah, so do those guys. But we also have this. Oh, I don't know somebody who has all 3 of those. All right, so now that you've got these abstract pieces, these inform the rest of all of those brand pieces, how you're going to operate in your sales, your operations, what is your marketing? And one last thing before we move from this slide, we've had people come to us, they've not spent any time with this, and they'll say, we need a website, or we need a, you're flashing leaves. We need a website, or we need a brochure. Okay, what would you like to say? I don't know. That's really happened.
Or
Wait,
we're the best, or, you know, we have integrity, or we're the most professional. I mean, it's just, yeah, they have integrity, they're professional, but is that unique? So,
how is that going to resonate with your ideal customer? And so finding your ideal customer is really important, and we'll talk about that in session 3 a bit more. So you take those abstract pieces of your brand and build them into a brand blueprint. And this is what we can send you. It's just a template. It's PowerPoint. You don't need anybody to make it fancy, but take some time, even if you're just starting out. What are our core values? What's our purpose? And you know, these can get refined as you're in business longer. You get clarity on those, mission, but you keep coming back to it. Our vision. How is the world different because we exist here? Your key differentiators, all of those pieces we talked about can go onto one page. And then you use it. So we've got some examples of how companies are using it, I think. Atlas Home Improvement, they loved their brand blueprint. When we did the rollout for their brand blueprint, they had all the employees together, they had a big lunch, and we said the 2 dangers of having this is 1, you can think you're done branding, and 2, you can put it in a drawer and forget about it. And they did not. They have this printed in every call center booth. They have this in the warehouse, it's blown up. They have pieces of it, even where customers can see this is the DNA of our business. This is how we want to do business. This is how we want our employees to feel and our customers to feel. They spent a lot of time on this so that as David and Darian Bobby started out, it was just a father-son team with a truck. And then when they did this, they were at 48 employees, and they're grown way beyond that now. But they noticed that the further they got from their employees, the less it was looking like the company that they had started. Right? Because you're over there, you can say, hey, I just heard what you said to that customer. That's not how we talk to a customer. But when you're far away and now you're out there with 3 supervising other things and you're not at the call center, you still want that same, what makes us different, the abstract pieces of our brand to be communicated. And then this is, we talked about how it feeds. It informs your marketing, their core values and differentiators. This is what's visible to the customer. They're connecting. We've got customer satisfaction. They're also have got other reviews. Their status and their reviews is very critical because their vision, their mission, their purpose is to help restore credibility to the industry. They really want to make it right for every customer. They educate their customers with the showroom to show them products and be really informed. Creating lasting value, that is an example of brand architecture. And a lot of companies don't give thought to this when they're starting designing their brand, is how might we expand our products or our service offerings? So we want to build a logo or a theme that might be able to carry that. If we're through color or a place to put a descriptor. And then their brand promise, their green carpet guarantee. And then another key differentiator was family owned. Any questions, any thoughts, things that you're curious about when it comes to clarifying your brand? We've had people ask if the brand, oh, go ahead, Mike.
All right, just one question. If you went back, what are the things I'm always on the lower left, all those little icons, which I think are very cool because it's subsegments of the bigger company. But sometimes people go, oh, you don't want to have too many, it can be confusing. Roofing, gutters, insulation, they do all that. Well, those are, I mean, is that something that you guys, is that something that some businesses can get away with, some can't, or how does that work?
It depends on their vision and how it fits in. Now, to be perfectly honest, Atlas is still doing the bath and shower and the tubs. They're no longer doing siding, windows, awnings. They still do gutters, but they don't do roofing or insulation.
And now they're
But
doing kitchens, baths.
Yep, they do kitchens, they do senior assisted or live in place.
Yeah.
So anyway, it just depends on what the vision is. So these, at least as they market themselves, they have, it's kind of difficult to tell. Well, you can see it. The Atlas name itself in the same font is the eyebrow of each of those. So that's the tie. It's if you will, a house of brands.
Right. No, I think it's nice. It's a nice little icons for every thing they do.
Provides relevance.
Yeah, Mike, it's a great question when we talk about niching, what being niched and what you do well.
Yeah.
And coming back to that blueprint, because it's so easy as we grow in our businesses to bring on another stream of revenue. Is this what we really do well? Is this what we excel at? Is this what we want people to know us for? So
Right.
I think that it's very important. So when you're thinking about the brand architecture, when Atlas started out, they got Gutter Helmet. It was a big deal, this father-son team, to get Gutter Helmet certified. They were the Gutter Helmet guys in this region.
Gutter helmet is gutter protection.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're going to be Atlas Gutter Helmet. And Bill went toe to toe with David Bobby and said, no, don't do that. If Gutter Helmet tanks, if they do something embarrassing, there you go with them. You are your own company. So what you do is whatever you install, this is what makes them. Whatever you install, you vetted the options and you install it well. And that became part of their sales pitch. You can get Gutter Helmet from somebody else or a gutter shield, but it depends on the quality of the installation as well. You can get
and as well, I guess looking at all these little icons is better than a Chinese menu of bullet points, which other companies, we do all that, and it's just your standard PowerPoint bullet point thing. This is much more appealing and attractive. And again, the feeling of, wow, okay, these guys know what they're doing, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it was really, at that point, it was a rollout brochure.
Yeah.
And then the pages on the website. So it differentiated each one. So it's just creating that theme.
Moving on. Good
So
question,
now,
Mike. Thank you.
yeah, it was a great question. So we've covered these pieces, and then they're in the roadmap. That's next. You'll get this. You can go through there, and no shame, no guilt. If you don't have these things written down, that we know companies that have been in business for 50 years and don't have it written down. We're meeting with someone tomorrow, third generation. They don't have some of these core values written down. So the thing is you're operating on a gut feeling and you can stray. So it's critical to get these pieces together. You can circle what you got to get to, check what's in place and effective as you're working on building a brand. So the next phase is create. That's the next part of building your brand. And you can kind of see how this is an evolving process.
Mm-hmm.
So when you create,
as you can see, before you build a logo for your company, depending on your vision, it really is important to cover those elements that Linda went through as far as the roots of what that tree is all about. It's very important that you get a bearing on your personality before you put a face on it. So this, and I'll try to burn through this. We have a video out. It's about the 5 pitfalls of brand identity design, what that designers fall into, mistakes, if you will. So it is based on the way we measure. This is based on form and function, essentially. Distinctive and relevant. Is distinctive, is it different? Is it something that maybe people have never seen before, but is it also relevant? Balancing those two is critical. And then the idea of function means And this is a lot of what I'm going to show you guys. The idea of it being effective means, will it reproduce in a multitude of different venues, different media? And then is it represented or repeated consistently in those different venues? So that is those pillars themselves. And they're built on the idea of collaboration, where all that whole clarify comes from, research, we talked about that a little bit, and what's your name? I mean, your name should be strong, and you really need to build off of who you are. But excuse me, I've gotten people asking me over the years, you know, is it a matter of opinion? Isn't it a matter of opinion if it's a good logo or not? I mean, how can you tell something's a good logo? And it's not a matter of opinion. It isn't. It's not based on the impulse that the designer had and how he feels. It's built on a solid understanding of the company, what you do, what makes you unique, as Linda was saying. It's not a platform for a designer to be self-expressive. So brand identity design really needs to follow proven principles, as you see right here: a balance, contrast, form, function, and a successful logo is going to be created with purpose in mind. So we want to talk briefly about these, the 5 pitfalls. And pitfall number 1, people fall into is they try to say too much. There's too much that they put down. Oh, and can we communicate this? And can we communicate that? You know, we're a travel agency, want to communicate the destination as well as the process to get there. And, oh, it's got to be a happy, warm sun and water. And I mean, that's what happens. People tend to, okay, tell me what you want to do. This is, I think we mentioned this last week, in hiring a designer. If they say, well, what do you want? Then walk away, because that's not the designer you want to create the identity for your company. It's really not. You want somebody who's asking a ton of questions and really lean into who you are to differentiate you. So trying to say too much, you want to keep it simple. Too many ideas or elements is going to kill the design, create confusion. This is a form and function. You want to balance it perfectly. You know, the idea is, the temptation rather is to tell the whole story. You don't want to do that. You don't want a logo that's going to create confusion.
Bill?
Yes.
Can you explain too about like the travel, the symbol and a word mark? Now that's another reason why so much is going on.
I will get into word marks in pitfall number 5, but is that okay? I mean, trying to tell too much, you just want to limit your information.
Sure, just to say, you'll see that commonly out there. People do something with the name and then create a symbol, and that's like, take one of those away and it could work.
Yep. Truly. Yeah, if you could take, for instance, the JRL, you could just create unique letter forms. You don't need the road or whatever it is. I mean, you
Or the dots, yeah.
You think it's a road, but with the dotted lines and whatever. I mean, listen, I want to train people who come under our hearing to be logo snobs, kind of like you, Mike. You know, we want people to differentiate what's true and what's not, or what's good and what's not good, what's not effective. And I'm not trying to be mean or critical. I mean, there are elements of, we live in an Apple-esque this society. We just do. We're used to seeing quality design. And when you buy an Apple, if you've ever received an Apple phone, it's like you don't want to throw the packaging away because it's so slick. It's so cool. You know, it's like, wow. Well, that's where we're in. That's who we're competing against, and deal with it. Anyway, so I'm going to try to digress. We're still on number 1. So pitfall number 2 is, and it's kind of the contrast. It's the idea of being overly simple. And you do want to be simple, yet it needs to be distinctive and it needs to be memorable. Simple is powerful, you guys, but too simple is meaningless. It has no meaning. You know, unless you're like a company like Apple or Microsoft, where you can basically just take 4 little boxes, put it with your name, and you're all set, or an Apple, you know, I mean, then you can't just afford to pull a font off the shelf. You know, a simple font or shape can be uniquely manipulated so that it transforms it into something unique and sophisticated. But your brand needs to be distinctive and it needs to be remembered. Being too simple can fall into that. Yeah, it's a circle. We like the circle. I mean, it's circles. Everything has meaning. Circles, squares, triangles, shapes, shields. I mean, different things have meaning. So you want to capture the meaning and communicate that with who you are. So the number 3 pitfall is kind of like number 1, but it gets into too much detail. Now, the idea of detail could be super thin lines, complicated elements, fine details. They kill a logo design and they render it ineffective in a multitude of instances. You know, your logo needs to be effective, and it means it's going to replicate in a single color and render well in a variety of media, and it's going to look the same everywhere. Overdoing this is often made. People like this, they grab, oh, this is cool. Look at all those sexy glints and drop shadows. Yeah, look, we got a client. We created originally years ago a 2D, beautiful 2D idea. Somehow a web company got in touch with it and said, look what we can do with your logo. And the owner loved it. But then they tried embroidering it. And it's just like, yeah, it doesn't work the same. Some might work online or in a view like this, but it's not going to work in an illustrated form.
Whoa. Slow. What they did to the logo was they did these kinds of things. They added stars and glints and a drop shadow and a gradient in the color, and it just made it very busy and very complicated. So Bill, if you could you even go back to the eco? Like if people, we'll talk to people when they show their logo, we'll go, you probably have difficulty if you want to embroider this, and they're just like, oh. We constantly have to make decisions about, well, should we cut this out or how should we divide that between the two? So apart from this having a number of design elements, it's just impossible to get that globe consistent everywhere it's going to be seen, which is getting back to building credibility.
You know, there's a saying, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So, I mean, that does happen when, hey, look at all these cool effects we can do in Illustrator here or in Word. I mean, Word, thankfully, I don't think has a whole lot of power in that regard, but it's just a pitfall for people who, you know, and no diss to do-it-yourselfers. I appreciate wanting to save money, but I mean, it's your face. It's the face of your business, and it has to work in a multitude of areas. And another is using illustrations or photographs are a pitfall as well, because they will not reproduce in a variety of media. So that's pitfall number 3.
Whoa. I want to add too, Paul had mentioned less is more in the comments. And I think, Paul, that is really an important thing to remember. And this actually was a logo that we found out there. So it looks absolutely like who would do that. But
yes, then Paul knows well, because he's given something like this, and then he's like, this isn't going to replicate unless they do a continuous tone 4-color process, silk screen or screen, however they do it now. So I can't even see Paul on there. I can't see the comments. So anyway, so pitfall number 4, I'm just trying to move through it because I'm watching the clock down here, guys. So, and raise your hand or interrupt or whatever, interrupt, Linda. So pitfall number 4, and you see this, is using Clipart or templates for stock images. And this is a true story. Years ago, I was doing a networking event at LBN, and I was given a business card by somebody. And as we continued to network, I got the same design with a different name and company on it from another individual who had a business card. Well, they went to, you know, and again, no, people want to save money, fine, use Vistaprint. But keep in mind, you know, once you get a little bit of a couple clients under the belt, you know, you want to upgrade, because Vistaprint, oh boy, I guess you got it done with Vistaprint because you saved, you know, $10 by having it done on the back as well, by putting Vistaprint on the back. But the same logo template was used, or the same letterhead look, and people will use something from the Microsoft Image Gallery, and then put it on their card and say, yeah, look how much money we saved. Well, it requires, really, you want your mark to be unique and one of a kind. And you want people to remember it as, you know, we originally showed you those 2 goals of branding. Because when they're ready to buy, they're going to remember, hey, remember that cool logo that had the, you know, the E knocked out, it was a plug that electrician got? Or, you know, it's got to stand out in the marketplace. So you want to put a unique face on your company. You really do. And that building credibility and being remembered is not going to happen when you hire or when you bring in something that's stock or pulled out of a book somewhere for free. You know, it's the face of your business, so don't let it be forgetful. Or, you know, any comments, Linda? You want to?
Just the font is hilarious. The upscase, it's got to be a readable font when people read your name. There's a pizza place that throws this complicated font that's difficult to read on its own on top of a pizza. And it's just like, I can't make out. I've seen your trucks 3 times, a little van, your catering van.
And they may make amazing pizza, you know, but their face does not say that they do.
I don't know the name.
And it's sometimes so like, yeah, don't upgrade your business because we don't want people to know about you. You know, we like coming here. So, and then pitfall number 5, and I'll burn through this one, but this is, you see it all over the place. And it's when people will use the icon to create the first letter of the business name. It's called the capital offense for a reason. And not to be harsh, but it's trite, unoriginal, and it's overly used. You see it all the time. Now, you are going to remember when you see logos, hey, that's that capital offense that guy was talking about. You know, I mean, it's just unfortunate, but it's all over the place. You know, I mean, you want your symbol to be separate from your business name. You want it to be integrated into or separate completely. If you do want to create an element like you see there, truth, incorporate it into as the T and reduce it and simplify it. That would then be called what's a word mark. You see Pallett's law right there? Taking that symbol, an icon, and making it part of the name, it could be interpreted as Allett's law. I mean, somebody may see it that way, and people often do. So the idea is to create a symbol, a standalone separate symbol, as you can see here. Not this, but this, where it stands alone. If you've got a mark and you really want to create something that's unique and it's got elements, incorporate that unique element into the business name itself, because that's where you can really differentiate yourself without creating the capital offense, if that makes sense. So that's pitfall number 5.
I do want to say, just getting back to, you can see on the right, sometimes, you know, it works okay, Center for Success, you're going to read it, but people can see it as Enter for Success or Ruth, because we're used to seeing and that's what I want to get to, and that's what Bill's getting at, the logo signature, your identity. When it's a symbol and the name that follows it, that is commonly what we do. So when you see a symbol, you think just subconsciously that you're going to read the name. So I wanted that to be clear. Auburn electrical esting. You read it first like that, you go, that doesn't make sense. Oh, I must need to read those things on the left. That's just too much brain power. We're small businesses. We don't have the big bucks like Microsoft or Apple to let people understand our name at a quick glance. We need to get it out there first time.
And it's memorable. I've seen Northern Electrical all over the place. You know, and people remember it. And at the end of the day, it's not going to make or shake. It just depends on the impression you want to create. So I'm hoping one of these days somebody's going to know the owner of that company. They're going to say, hey man, they showed your logo. It's a bad logo, you know. So just tying back to the idea of form and function, balancing those elements. Now, Linda, this is getting into an example, and I'll try to burn through this, but we have another presentation where we actually literally will grade a company logo based on criteria from here. And this is just more so a snapshot. Going through that foundation, the collaboration, research, and the strong name. ICR services, which we're going to see some other samples in here. This is a before example of a client that we still have a relationship with them. 9 years ago, we rebranded this company, and they keep us on to help with their marketing as well. But we really brought them through. Going back to what Linda talked about, the whole idea of clarify, you can take the information about the company, bring it into what we call a symbol story, and convert that information into meaning through shapes and symbols, and then capture a finished symbol. Or what Linda mentioned, the signature. The signature is actually that symbol itself with the letter, the name of the business, and then that tagline or slogan. Or Mike, you had a term for it. What was the term that you used in that first one? I liked it. I liked what that was, what you said.
Regarding,
Regarding the tagline.
oh, it's I call it a value proposition.
Okay, yep, yep.
There's value here. We're part, number one, as I look at this, yeah, we're partners. We're not going to just come in and tell you what to do. So we're a partner. And then productivity gives a bit of a indication, you know, what it is we do, but
Yeah.
it's a value proposition.
Good. I want to remember that. So this was based on those pillars tied into that. That's that final idea that you just saw. And as Linda mentioned before, the brand blueprint, Linda, there's, you know, we talked about the compilation, that charter. Businesses like to be able to have that, to be able to communicate to their employees, hey, this is who we are. You align with our, you know, we're bringing you on. We want you to know here's where we stand. It's black and white, very clear. And then kind of tying that, clarified that brand blueprint to the symbol story. You know, the idea of, hey, they clean buildings. Then the letter A converted into an abstract letter A. The idea of bringing light, when, you know, all that stuff is then correlated into that final symbol. So, and that's thereafter. So
I do want to say, when you're looking at logo design, and we stress this now because there's a lot of like Fiverr.com, you got to be really careful that you're not going to be nickel and dimed. Even Vistaprint will nickel and dime you in order to, you'll get this free thing, but then to get the logo files and then to get it in vector format. And Paul, as a promotional products expert, knows you need the vector format. You need these different file types to get it out there consistently. You want, when you're getting logo concepts, ask your designer to bring them to you in positive and negative space, in black and white first. Because if they bring you color designs or show you cool ideas embossed or on a sign, it can really distract, or you can lose what could be a flaw in the design. Like that eco one that had all the colors on it. Well, show it to me in positive, negative space. They would not be able to do that to you. You would just see blob. So that's an important piece. Any other questions? Cool.
all right. Burn it through. We've got about 10 minutes, Linda. So
Yep. So now we've done the created piece, and there's so much more. We have whole sections on that. We want to move into how you can connect. And we talked about building a brand identity system. So part of that is your blueprint for the abstract pieces of your brand. And now we want to talk about what you're going to need to help you keep your brand identity crystal clear and consistent across the board, just like that pillar. So we call them brand identity standards. Here's just an example of before and after MapleWorks, how it went through the process. And these are looking forward. One of the things that you want to do, like Mike, you have coffee, you're going to be thinking about all the places that this has got to go. MapleWorks, they were forward-thinking company that is bringing in natural maple syrup in Michigan. So we're going to have a stationery, we're going to have signs, we're going to have it on our truck, we're going to have it on a label, packaging. How is this going to look? What is it going to look like in social media, the upper right? Think about that. If you had just a horizontal orientation, how is that going to look in your social media profile? You need something that's going to be, so we want that worked out with your designer out the gate.
And Linda might add something too. They had a corporate version. They also had one that was a label created for their products.
Mhm.
So that, and another thing that we also spaced, really, when the ideas are presented to you initially, they should be presented in black and white only.
I did say that.
It said that it should be not, as she said, knockout, but just seeing it in black only, that should be just a given when you see that. So moving into the standards.
I thought you weren't listening to me, Bill. Okay, so slow down just for a second. This go back to, you see the pen in the mug? Okay, so Paul knows all about this, right? That on the pen is a horizontal orientation, on the mug is a vertical orientation. Have you ever gotten a mug that you have to spin it in order to read the name? That's bad. You want your standards to be built, because if you're giving a sign company or mug company your vector art in order to fit it, they can change that any way they want. So we'll talk about that one in one of these next slides. Your color formulas, you want to add color, a warmer color, or different or cooler color to your newsletter. How are we going to do that? These are going to not fight with it. And then, one more back. Like, everyone in your company should know your RGB number, your primary RGB number, and that PMS number, and then see how it's knocked out in that positive negative space. Isn't that cool? So when your company has scaled and you've got 100 employees and you're gonna have a family picnic and you're gonna divide up in teams and you're gonna have the green shirts, red shirts, blue shirts, you're gonna be able to do one white silk screen on that shirt, and it's gonna look awesome because you thought ahead years ago and you have a great logo that works in positive negative space.
I just noticed a side note, there are formulas, CMYK, RGB, and HTML that are assigned on here. Somehow I just noticed now it didn't translate.
Yep, for your web, and so that they're consistent.
Yeah.
Then your font, your rules, how much space should go around there. You see people just crowding their logo in. Respect your identity. And then the fonts, like, again, what Paul said, less is more. Pick two fonts.
Yeah.
These are our company fonts. They're family. We can vary on those. And then what not to do. So that's what we hinted at. If you just give anybody, even when you have these standards. So Alex, you're kind of like the brand chief officer there at the Auburn Hills Chamber. We're going to make sure our logo is not squished. It's not slanted. They're not changing the orientation at all or the color. So those are some rules and guidelines, and then how it's laid out there. That is your system. This is just some examples of how that was implemented. So this funny thing, Sam is in a timeout because he stretched our logo on a PowerPoint slide. It's a small thing, but when your logo, do you think that Target would let a sign company make the O a little oval? Would they be upset if the O just went from a perfect circle to a little bit of an oval to fit into the sign? Absolutely not. So you guys all know by now the aspect ratios, move by the corner, never use the sides on your logo. So keep it for credibility. Any questions on building that system?
We have 7 minutes.
We're doing awesome.
Are we?
I think so. I don't have the rest of the slides in front of me, but this is how you're connecting with people. So it's how you're going to make that connection. It's part of it. There's so much more that we'll cover in session 3.
Mm-hmm. So the green is what we will be covering next time.
Bill, do we have a graphic of the launch card? I don't know if we do, but we create as part of a brand program. It's a reveal. There's like a little graphic fold, and that's okay. We could show it to you if you're interested, or send it along. It just says, hey, something, we call it the new us card. And the cool thing about it is you can use that graphic. You put your old logo on the top, and then you have a little graphic reveals, and then underneath is the hint of your new logo. You can put it out there on your social media and say, something's coming. We're really excited. We're doing a rebranding, and we want to tell you the story behind it. So I really want to emphasize that story behind it is so important, because you've probably heard or seen someone say, we got a new logo. Great, cool. I like it or I don't like it. It's more exciting for you, for your designers, than for your customers. But if you said to your customers, we have a new logo because we want to show you, and then the story behind it. And that gets back to that brand blueprint. We want to show you that we're restoring credibility to the building industry. That is our goal with every single customer and every single visit. So when they open it up, they see your differentiator in there. When they go to your website to check it out, they see the differentiator. You're speaking their language. We want to talk about that in session 3. So that reveal, that new us, is how you can launch to impact your sales. We have stories of customers in that launch cards that, hey, this is coming. The sign wasn't even on the building yet. It was a manufacturing company. The new sign wasn't yet on the building, but we had photoshopped it in on the building. So when they sent that out digitally and then mailed it out to their database, they saw an uptick in sales. We've heard that a number of times. Wow, this company is forward thinking. And it just presents it in such a way that you are credible. You're building that credibility. And then your launch, you plan. And so on that checklist, Bill, I think we have an image of this checklist.
Yeah, I was looking for the
on the checklist, there's a place for your internal launch and your external launch to make a plan. So how are we going to do this? We can flip everything over digitally. Not a problem. We'll do that at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night in case there's any glitches. By Monday morning, everything's working great. And your internal launch with your team, you want to make sure everybody is on the same page. I know we're wrapping this up, but I challenge you to do this. When you go to a business, ask them, so why would I go with you? What makes you different from other? And you will see customers stammer and stumble. They don't know what makes them different, why I should go to your company and not others. I could tell you so many stories because I ask that question all the time. Big brands. We were looking for a car. We went to Volvo and I said, you've got this logo is it masculine or feminine? I can't remember now. Masculine, I think. It's the male symbol. Like, why is that? Why is that Volvo? And they're like, Jen, do you know why we have John? I don't. And then we had 3 salespeople come up trying to explain the Volvo logo. Like, all Volvo has to say is to every employee, this symbolizes strength. This symbolizes service. And that's what we are. Volvos are strong, safe, with great service. What? Is that so hard? That's pretty free, right? In your customer training. That would have stuck in my mind. Instead, I just like, wow, they don't know. So your internal launch trains your team. So when people are calling, you have the same message, and we're going to get into the message in session 3.
So yeah,
That's how you can connect. And then we have this tool. You can get it digitally. You can go to our website. It's the book. We have it printed. You can order it, or you can get it in the ebook from Amazon Kindle. There's a workbook that goes with it. So the first part is diving in deeper into the brand clarify piece. And then the workbook is really getting organized for your launch. So that wraps it up for us. If you want, let Alex know. If you don't want your giant eye, don't get scared. Bill, you can stop sharing because I'll give it back to Alex. Yep. If you don't want to hear from us, let Alex know. Otherwise, I think, Alex, we might just send that out if that's okay.
Absolutely, if that totally works, we can send it out to everyone.
Great.
Well, thank you, Bill and Linda, so much.